What's up, steppers? Let's get right into the pros and cons of signing a record deal in 2023 and beyond. All right, so these are all the chapters right here. Now, the pros. Guys, the biggest pro is that you get that advance money, but let's check out some more pros. You can read it right here, but let's listen to this guy explain it.
Well, the first pro is you get money via in advance. You get money up front, right? And then second, you get quicker fame or recognition. And I say quicker because it's ideal that you're able to leverage the label relationships, which will lead to quicker fame and recognition, as opposed to you being independent where it may take longer, okay? And then lastly, as far as pro comes, you're able to work with professionals who've already been there and done that, right? So ultimately, you don't know what you don't know when you're in this, so you're able to work off what they do know. But listen to more though.
I do get what he's saying right there. I mean, being able to, leverage the relationships. It's kind of like this main point right here. Record labels can also provide financial support for record touring and other expenses. And this can be, insightful for those, the financial cushion, right? So being able to have that and also being able to jumpstart your music career. So that's just some main points that the record label is good for. But let's get into the cons. So the cons of signing a record deal, one of the biggest cons, as you guys know, besides the creative control, is that you also may have some, less money from the music itself. But let's listen to this guy explain it.
Well, the first and main thing is you get less or no ownership of your music, which ultimately means you're making less money from the music itself. Another big con is that you possibly may have less creative control, as you guys are able to read below. It's like the first sentence, right? So having less creative control does depend on the terms of your deal, though. And then lastly, ultimately, guys, staff turnover. So you have to think about staff turnover. Back when I was playing college football, I ended up transferring schools from one school playing college football to another school playing college football. When I did transfer, it was based off the fact of me believing in the person who recruited me, but we had a good relationship, and that person ended up leaving the school, and then another coach came in, and then they already had their guy. So that is a possibility, but ultimately you can void those by being able to take full advantage of the pros themselves, especially how you spend your advance money and keep creating awesome music, awesome content, awesome products that the people will speak for themselves. But this is the cons that you have to weigh out. But listen to more though.
That point that he made about the that point about the football is really interesting, guys. Football, real estate, music, it's all one big thing, right? It's all just tapped into, a stepper. This being said, one big thing that was left out right there is that the one big con is the rights proportion. So yes, you do earn less money because you're giving up your royalties, but also the rights when it has to do with, say, if you make a song, and just make sure you retain the rights as far as like where the song can be used, so like publishing rights, how the song can be used, and what context the song can be used, what your brand align with. All those things really matter. So just keep context as far as when it's time to sign a record deal. Make sure you look at what is the rights, and make sure you're not giving away any rights without your knowledge, and just make sure you have a good cancel there to be able to execute the vision that you have for yourself and your brand. Make sure that it aligns with the record deal itself, because that's one big con. You don't want, if you're a positive person, to be, showed up in something that's negative, and whatever that is to you, it is subjective, but ultimately you want to be able to decide how you're portrayed. So just think about that. Okay, so choosing the right record label, you got to do your research, right? So does the record label align with what you are trying to get, and making sure that you're not getting taken advantage of, and also making sure that the record label is legit, right? So there's a lot of people, anybody can make a record label, right? You can make a record label and have no experience in the music industry. So you just want to be able to fact check everything, make sure what you're signing, you understand what you're signing, and understand who you're signing with. Even if it's a major record label and they have a big reputation, make sure you know who you're signing with as far as the person that you come in with, because that matters, as we just explained in the last example. The benefits of staying independent. Well, let's get right into it. Let's listen up.
Like it says, guys, the benefits of staying independent. Everybody starts off independent in the music industry. So, being a entertainer, being an artist, you're going to be independent. And the benefits of staying independent is that you keep being able to do it your way. And you really have to think of yourself as independent the whole entire way, right? Because even if you do decide to sign to a record label, and again, it's because you already have your reasons to do so, it's because that they're aligning with your independence. When you really think of it like that, right? So ultimately, the record label should be aligning with the vision. You should be choosing the right record label that aligns with your idea of your brand and your vision. And they have great things to add to that. And from the record label perspective, they're looking for someone who has independence, where they have a vision that they can just align with, versus being able to groom somebody from a young age, even though that may be more beneficial, especially financially speaking. Because one of the biggest benefits of staying independent, once everybody is independent, depending on where the record label decides to partner with this person at, it could be where the record label's up here, and then the partners, the actual independent artist is here. They're new, they're beginning, so the record label may get more money, be able to get more money in the long run from the artist. The artist gets more money up front because they don't have anything long term yet. Or if the benefits of staying independent outweigh signing to a record label, then the record label is going to have to give up more money, right? So then everything switches, where the artist is now up here getting more money from the record label, and the record label is getting less because the artist stayed independent. Or it can equal out here, where everybody has a clear vision, and the vision is just as valuable as the money income in itself, and everyone is respected that way. It just depends, but ultimately the benefits of staying independent is that you keep being able to do it your way, and when somebody comes along, they are able to see if they align with those values. Being the record label, you already have your way set in stone, so the record label is not telling you, hey, this is what you have to do. You understand if it aligns with your values, your vision, and the record label is able to see, like, hey, what they're doing, does what they're doing align with where we're trying to go, or can we invest in what they're doing? So ultimately, think of yourself as independent the whole time, because even once you complete a record label contract, you're going to become what? An independent, free agent, I guess you can say it like that, but ultimately you're going to be a brand. You're an independent brand, no longer coinciding with another brand. Your partnership, your labelship, whatever you want to call it, is now separated, so where you are independent. So always think of yourself as independent, even if you sign a record contract. The biggest advice here.
I like that. So I like that, and something I like to add to it is that one big thing that was really the theme there is that attaining leverage, right? So being able to attain leverage when you're independent, because leverage is not only just thinking about it with the record label and artist relationship. It's whoever wants to invest into your brand via sponsorship, via having you go speak somewhere, speaking engagements, whatever it may be. Having the leverage, and the only way to really attain leverage, the main way, is to make sure that your product, your value, your service, whatever you provide into the world, whatever you're providing to your audience, making sure that it's dope, making sure that it's bar none, having the focus there. So having the focus there, and also making sure that you have your image and everything, crafting an identity is important itself. Being able to craft an identity, understanding that you are a brand as an artist, you are a brand even of itself, and being able to create an image around that brand is really important. So being able to attain leverage is the big overall idea, and the way you do that is with everything that was explained there, in addition to what I just said right here, because being able to look at it from both points of view, again, I love the way it was broken down right there, because you're looking at it from the record label point of view and also the artist, right? The record label wants somebody who has a vision, or they'll create a vision. If they have a vision, then they'll find a person who fits that vision. But ideally, you may want somebody who has one, or from an artist point of view, you want somebody who aligns with your vision, with your values, and you want them to not try to really control and constrict where you're trying to go in. And one huge thing is the benefits of staying independent is also those rights. Again, even if you do share your rights, you want to make sure you're sharing your rights with someone who has similar values as you. That way you don't look up and then, like I said, your song is being used for something that doesn't align with your brand, because your music is an extension of your brand, or your music is the brand itself. But I feel like it should be an extension of the brand. So that being said, let's get into the next one. The future of the music industry, guys. As we know, the music industry keeps switching from being able to be on CDs. Like when you really think about from a 20-year time frame, and when just Newton's law or David's law, whatever it is, technology, it's only increasing, right? The speed that technology learns, the speed that technology develops, it only increases. I believe it's Newton's law. But either way, technology keeps increasing. So it gets like 2 years, it doubles like every 2 years as far as the rate of expansion. The rate it keeps speeding up. Is like, just look into it. But this being said though, with the music industry switching so fast, you can try to either A, keep up with the times, right? So keep up with the times, which is always good, but B, create your own time, right? So create your own time, create your own journey, create your own space, carve out your own lane, look at it from a bird's eye view and realize where you are really, where you're headed and where you are in this big picture of things, guys. I mean, just to touch on a few things, how the music industry have shifted within the last 20 years. We went from CDs, right, to iPods and MP3s. CDs to cassette tapes, or the Walkmans with the headphones, walking around, right? I guess cassette tapes was when there was an actual tape player. So when you have the Walkman CD player walking around with the headphones, and then you have the iPad or the iPhones, your iPods, all those kind of things, MP3 players, all those kind of things, right? The little nano things, right? This is all within 20 years. It's really wild when you think about it. And then you keep going and you have, streaming platforms, YouTube, first being one of the big ones where you're playing music, and then you expand to Apple Music and Spotify, and you're having those. And now what's coming next is with moving from the Web 2, the second generation of the internet, to Web 3. And Web 3 is really making the music come to life. So I just want you to close your eyes and think about where it's going. You went from having something that was on your head, right, to you were listening to it, walking it around with you, driving around the car, to you being able to be the music. I don't know if you feel I get goosebumps talking about it, but that's where the music industry is heading with Web 3. You're able to become the music now, right? So now just think about you being able to be your favorite artist, their music, you being able to be it from all aspects, right? You're able to be invested in it via NFTs. You can share in the royalties. And also via the metaverse. Just think about, being able to be your favorite artist in the metaverse and having an extension of their music. So you feel like you're actually owning kind of your favorite artist in a way. It's going to create a different type of relationship psychology-wise with with people that we admire their music. We want to feel like we're in their life more is where it's going. If you just think about it, just look at everything in the last 20 years, how much it's changed, right? You used to have to look into newspapers to figure out information on your favorite artists, celebrities, or whatever. Now you can go to their Instagram page. So the only way it progresses is that you feel like you're getting closer to them. So this being said, this is the future of the music industry. You're getting closer to them. So from an artist point of view, you got to realize how you can take advantage of that. From a label point of view, you probably want somebody who understands this and the vision of where it's going and how they can execute it. And from an audience point of view, just enjoy the show. I mean, it's really exciting. I think so. It's really exciting. So, should you sign a record deal? I mean, let's check out what he got to say. I don't know. Let's see.
So, whether you should sign and whether you want to sign, whether you're able to sign, that's all up to you. But the biggest piece of advice that I've gathered throughout these, my time of learning about the music industry and my time being in it, is that the biggest thing is have a vision if and when you do decide to sign a record deal. Don't just think that the record deal, you signing a record deal is the end all be all. Don't think you've made it just because you got a record deal. I really liken it to college, right? So a lot of people, especially depending on your background, where you come from, a lot of people think that just because you got a college degree that you've done something in your life. People go crazy, they have celebrations, they're so excited because they got a college degree. But it's like, what comes after that, right? So what comes after you get this, $500,000 advance, after you get, the record contract, after they throw you a party, after all the good stuff, right? What comes after that? That's what you have to realize. That's what you're in it for. You're not in it just to be able to sign a contract and get the money. It's about what comes after it. As long as you got the idea of what comes after it, then sign a record deal. Until you have that idea, don't sign a record deal, even if you offer the greatest thing, because you have to realize it then becomes what their plan of you is versus what your plan is for yourself. And your plan for yourself is more important in the long run. That's it.
I really like that one. There's two things I'd like to add to that. So as far as your plan of yourself in the long run, that's really important, guys, because one thing, and also, making sure you have a plan for yourself in the long run. One thing I heard, this is where all this is coming from, guys. I've watched music industry shows and watched stuff about music business and also music curation. One big thing that I heard watching one of my shows that I like to watch, shout out to The God Show by Ray Daniels, he just talked about how his son discovered something on TikTok. It was an artist on TikTok. Long story short, his son knew the song, but he didn't know the artist, right? So that being said, all these TikTok artists, and like, you know, shout out to you if you got it through that way, of course. But the big thing is, if you're rushing, it's like, it depends on what you're in it for, right? So understand what you're in it for. If you're in it for a bag and you're like, okay, the song just took off, bet, let me go get a bag. The record label want to buy the song, buy the rights to it, cool. And that's it. But if they're invested in a song, then I mean, they're not really tripping about who you are as a person, and neither is your audience. Your audience is just, you know, they like your song for what you do. But that being said, that's two different mindsets. So it's like, what are you in it for? And I think that's the biggest thing in 2023 and beyond. Being able to distinguish why you're in it is going to help you be around. Like when I look at my favorite artists, can't speak for everybody. So like some of my favorite artists, they had a vision for themselves. When I look at the Drakes, when I look at the J. Cole's, when I look at the Russ, just to name top three, Nipsey was one of my favorite ones, you know, in 2018, and, you know, the Beyond or whatever. But they all had a vision for themselves. So they weren't just in it for like one hit. So that being said, they loved the journey. They loved the idea of just doing the work itself. They loved it for what it was. So being able to say that, hey, yeah, I got my college degree, I'm done doing homework, I'm done doing this, that, and the third. So were you just in it because you wanted to get your college degree so you can stop doing homework, right? So were you just in it to get this check so you can, you know, stunt for a little bit? Or were you in it because you had a big vision type of thing, right? Were you in this college so you can be able to advance to the next step of your career that you already had planned? Or was it like, I got my degree, now, you know, something will fall in my lap? It's not like that. It's not like that with anything. No matter what you do in life, it's not like that. So being able to understand and really respect the journey and respect the process will be able to lead you to being able to sign a record deal, because then you'll understand what's the purpose of it. It's not just to say you did it, unless it is. And if it is, then congratulations to you. At least you understand, and now you are aware of that fact, and you're not blindsided. And it leads to, like we talked about in the first episode, if you guys haven't checked it out already, maybe go check that out. But we talked about how a lot of artists there become upset because they did not take a look at their business. They were just focused on the music side of things. So in the long run, they became upset due to the lack of understanding of business in the beginning. That's all I have for you guys today. If you found any of this information helpful, please consider hitting that like button and sharing, subscribing, becoming a big stepper within yourself. It really does help out the growth of the channel. And thank you. As always, get stepping, get stepping, get stepping.